Imagine you are completely lost in this massive, sprawling foreign city.
Oh, that sounds stressful.
Right. You don't speak the language, you don't know the streets, and you're just desperately trying to find your hotel.
Yeah, an absolute nightmare scenario.
Exactly. And suddenly someone walks up and just hands you a dictionary. A massive 10-pound dictionary.
Oh, gee, thanks a lot.
Right. I mean, technically you have all the words, millions of data points right there in your hands, but you still have absolutely no idea how to get to your room.
Because having the raw information
Yeah.
is, well, it's fundamentally different from actually having a map.
Yes. And that exact paradox is, what we're looking at today when it comes to the modern state of golf.
It really is a profound shift. I mean, golfers and coaches today are completely drowning in data, but they're just starving for actual understanding.
Yeah.
The bottleneck in sports science is no longer acquiring information. It's figuring out what on earth to actually do with it.
Which is why today we are taking a deep dive into Henrik Jentsch's eCoach 360-degree Enterprise Edition white paper.
It's quite the document.
It really is. And our mission for this dive is singular. We need to figure out how this platform is taking all this raw, overwhelming scientific data and translating it into actual actionable coaching decisions.
That's the core premise right there.
Yeah.
As the white paper explicitly states, scientific information must be translated into coaching decisions.
Exactly. So if you're a listener who is, tired of spending a fortune on golf lessons just to be handed some generic tip like keep your head down, well, this architectural shift in coaching is exactly what you've been waiting for.
It really is.
We're going to look at how data, biomechanics, kinematics, and artificial intelligence are revolutionizing performance. But also, crucially, why the human coach is actually more vital than ever in the middle of all this tech.
Yeah, to really understand the solution that eCoach 360 degrees provides, you have to grasp the sheer scale of the data problem first.
Right.
Think about the technological explosion on the driving range over, say, the last 10 years. I mean, we've moved entirely past just recording a player's swing on an old smartphone.
Oh, it's unrecognizable now. You walk onto a high-end teaching tee today, and it looks like, I don't know, a NASA control room.
It really does.
You've got radar launch monitors tracking the exact spin and trajectory of the ball. You have 3D motion capture systems building these digital skeletons of the player in real time.
Yeah, and you have force plates embedded right in the ground measuring exactly how a player pushes into the turf.
It's wild.
And every single swing generates like thousands of data points across all those devices.
Right.
A launch monitor gives you dozens of ball flight parameters instantly.
Right.
A force plate generates continuous force vectors measured in 3 dimensions. But here is the critical limitation that the industry hit.
Okay, what is it?
Ball flight data alone is entirely insufficient for coaching.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I have to push back on that immediately.
Yeah, let's hear it.
If I step up to the tee, right, and my launch monitor says the ball went 280 yards straight down the middle, isn't that the ultimate goal? Like, why do I care what my force plates say if the ball is flying perfectly?
Because, well, ball flight data only tells you what the ball did. And by extension, what the golf club did.
Okay.
It tells you the club face was, say, 2 degrees open, or your swing path was out to in. But it absolutely does not tell you why your body produced that specific result.
Oh, I see.
If you hit that perfect 280-yard drive,
Yeah.
but your launch monitor doesn't tell you that you achieved it by completely stalling your hip rotation and dangerously overloading your lumbar spine just to save the shot,
Yeah.
you are on a fast track to a career-ending injury.
Ouch. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. To understand the why, you have to move beyond the ball. You have to look at biomechanics, which is the mechanical foundation of how the human body moves, and kinematics, which is the study of how motion is sequenced, how energy transfers through the body.
Okay, yeah, I see what you were saying. It's essentially like getting a highly detailed diagnostic receipt for a broken car without actually knowing how engines work.
Exactly.
It prints out a slip saying, your transmission is broken, here's the bill, but you still can't drive the car out of the shop.
Perfect analogy.
But wait, if a launch monitor is already giving a human coach too much data, how is a normal instructor supposed to process hundreds of new biomechanical variables, force vectors, and kinematic sequences without completely losing their mind?
Well, historically, they just couldn't. And what's fascinating here is that this is the exact problem Henrik Jentsch addresses in the white paper.
Okay.
Coaches have traditionally relied on highly fragmented knowledge. They might get a certification in force plate technology from one organization.
Right.
Then they go read biomechanical research from a university. Then they rely on their own experiential knowledge from 20 years of standing on the lesson tee.
That sounds exhausting to juggle.
It is.
Yeah.
The issue is that these sources operate in total isolation. They don't share a common language. So eCoach 360 Degrees was created specifically to solve this fragmentation by organizing all of that disparate science into one unified knowledge ecosystem.
So instead of a coach having like a dozen different textbooks open on their desk, trying to cross-reference a force plate reading with a 3D motion graph, the system itself maps out how they interact.
Precisely. And the underlying architecture that connects this information is called a knowledge graph.
Okay.
Specifically, the system utilizes a directed acyclic graph, or a DAG model.
Here's where it gets really interesting. But let's not just gloss over directed acyclic graph like we are reading a computer science manual.
Fair point.
What does that actually mean structurally for the coach?
Think of a standard database. It just stores files in isolated rows and columns, right?
Sure.
A knowledge graph doesn't just store the files. It maps the structural relationships between the concepts. The directed part means every relationship follows a logical, one-way direction of cause and effect. A causes B. B causes C.
Okay, got it.
And acyclic means there are no infinite loops or circular dependencies. It is a strictly mapped pathway of biomechanical cause and effect.
Wait, I need to challenge this DAG model concept because human bodies are incredibly chaotic and, they compensate constantly.
They do.
Like if my right knee hurts, I might flare my foot out. That changes my hip rotation, which changes my shoulder tilt, which makes me change my grip just to save the shot.
Absolutely.
So how can a strict, logical, one-way graph account for that level of chaotic human compensation?
That is an excellent point, and it really hits at the genius of the architecture. The DAG accounts for compensation because even human compensations are still strictly governed by physics and anatomy.
Oh, right. You can't break the laws of physics.
Exactly. The system maps these pathways across 4 scientific pillars: human movement, ground reaction force, kinematic sequence architecture, and musculoskeletal joint load and torque architecture.
Hold on, you just dropped musculoskeletal joint load and torque architecture on me.
I know, it's a mouthful.
Before we go any further, what does that actually look like on the tee box? I need a physical example of what joint load translates to in a real golf swing.
Fair enough. Think about riding a bicycle really fast. If you suddenly slam on the front brake, what happens to your body?
You fly right over the handlebar.
Exactly. Because you decelerated the base, the energy violently transferred to the top structure, accelerating it forward.
Okay, yeah.
That is torque and joint load.
Hmm?
In a golf swing, your lower body has to brake or decelerate to transfer its energy up into your torso.
Oh, wow.
Your torso then has to brake to snap the energy down your arms, and your arms brake to whip the club head through the ball. If the system reads that your lead knee isn't accepting the load to create that braking force, it knows mathematically that the energy transfer will fail.
So that is the kinematic sequence right there. It's literally like cracking a whip.
Yes.
If the handle of the whip, which is your pelvis, doesn't snap to a sudden halt, the tip of the whip, the club head, is never going to break the sound barrier.
That is exactly how it works. It's sequential energy transfer. And mapping all of this requires massive terminology control.
I can imagine.
The eCoach 360-degree platform currently has 117 fully validated knowledge files and 951 terminology records. And to ensure the physics are interpreted perfectly, every single concept is assigned a canonical identifier.
So wait, if a coach in Germany looks at a swing and calls an error, say, early extension, and a coach in America looks at the exact same swing and calls it losing posture, the AI sees their different words but recognizes them as the exact same mathematical value.
Yes. The canonical identifier is the universal truth underneath the messy human language.
That's brilliant.
Because of this, the system remains perfectly consistent across the 5 languages it fully supports: English, German, French, Spanish, and Danish. A coach in Madrid and a coach in Copenhagen are accessing the exact same structural truth.
Okay, having this massive knowledge graph mapping out the physics of the whip is amazing theory. But let's get out of the laboratory and onto the grass.
Let's do it.
How does this actually help a coach diagnose a bad swing in real time? Let's trace it back.
This is where we look at the root cause engine V2.1. You see, traditional coaching is frequently symptom-based.
What do you mean?
Let's say you hit a massive slice. The coach sees on the video that your club face is wide open at impact. A symptom-based coach will give you a drill focused entirely on your wrists, trying to force you to close the club face.
Right, which never works long-term because you're just fighting your own body. You aren't fixing the actual disease.
Exactly. The root cause engine takes that open club face and traverses backward through the directed acyclic graph to find the true origin.
Okay, walk me through that.
The white paper outlines a perfect kinetic chain example. The system notes the club delivery is faulty. It asks the data. Why? It traces the failure up the arms and finds that the thorax, the chest, stopped rotating too early.
Right.
It asks why. It looks down the chain and sees a limitation in the pelvic behavior. The hips stalled. It asks why again. Goes all the way down to the force plates and identifies faulty foot mechanics.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the golfer simply wasn't pushing into the ground correctly with their lead foot to create the vertical force needed to clear the hips.
That is wild. So what does this all mean for you when you're actually out on the range taking a lesson? It means the root cause of the open club face, the reason the ball sliced into the woods, was actually how their foot was interacting with the dirt a fraction of a second earlier.
Spot on.
If a coach just tells you to flip your wrists to fix the club face, they are completely ignoring the foot, which means the swing is still broken.
Exactly. And the system provides a very specific 5-step workflow to manage this diagnosis organically.
Right.
Observation of the symptom, hypothesis of the cause, analysis of the data, validation, and finally, intervention.
Let's talk about that validation step, because that feels like the missing link to me.
Oh, it is.
When I take a lesson, the coach forms a hypothesis, but then we just immediately jump to intervention. We just guess and try a drill. How does this system actually validate a hypothesis before we start changing a player's swing?
This raises an important question about how the AI operates. It does it through strict validation sequences. The system refuses to just guess.
That's reassuring.
If the knowledge graph hypothesizes that poor lead foot ground reaction force is causing the chest to stall, it requires the coach to run a specific kinematic test to confirm that specific relationship in this specific player.
Oh, I see.
The platform ensures that a hypothesis is scientifically confirmed or rejected before any coaching drill is recommended.
But tracing these massive webs of biomechanical cause and effect in real time, cross-referencing foot mechanics with chest rotation across thousands of data points, I mean, that requires an unbelievable amount of computational power. Human brains just don't process spreadsheets that fast.
No, they don't.
Which brings us to the artificial intelligence architecture.
Yes, but it is crucial to understand that this is not just an off-the-shelf chatbot repurposed for golf.
Right, it's not just ChatGPT holding a 7-iron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Standard conversational AI relies on statistical guessing. They just predict the next most likely word in a sentence based on their training data.
Which is exactly why standard AI hallucinates and just makes things up when it doesn't know the answer. You absolutely cannot have an AI hallucinating biomechanical advice that might tear a player's rotator cuff.
Exactly. That is why eCoach360 uses a highly specialized multi-agent architecture. It features one master agent that orchestrates the workflow and 6 specialized subagents.
Okay, so they divide and conquer.
Precisely. Rather than having one AI try to understand everything, you have distinct agents. For example, you have a biomechanics agent and a ground reaction force agent.
So how do those specific agents talk to each other to solve that foot mechanics problem we just talked about?
The GRF agent analyzes the force plate data and essentially tells the system the vertical force peak in the lead leg is happening 50 milliseconds too late.
Okay.
The master agent routes that finding to the biomechanics agent, which analyzes the 3D skeleton and replies, that delay perfectly explains why the pelvis hasn't cleared, causing the thorax to stall. They collaborate structurally.
That's incredible. But let me ask the question that every local golf professional listening right now is definitely thinking.
Let's hear it.
Is this AI going to take my job? Like, if the GRF agent and the biomechanics agent can perfectly diagnose my foot mechanics and trace it to my open club face, why do I even need to pay a human coach?
It is a totally valid fear, but the white paper explicitly outlines a coaching-first philosophy. The AI is designed as a high-powered assistant, not a substitute for the human connection.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And the mechanism that protects this is called the coaching safety layer, or CSL.
The coaching safety layer. What is that guardrail actually doing?
It is a strict governance framework. Before the master agent delivers any output or recommendation to the screen, the CSL intercepts and reviews the reasoning.
Okay.
It checks the directed acyclic graph to ensure the AI's logic is scientifically accurate, pedagogically sound, and practically relevant.
Right, because the AI doesn't know what it feels like to actually swing a club.
Exactly. The AI might know the exact mathematical degree of a joint limitation, but it takes the human coach to look the student in the eye, understand their frustration, and translate that data into a physical feeling or a drill the student can actually execute. The technology handles the heavy data lifting so the coach can focus entirely on the human art of teaching.
That makes total sense. It's not a robot teaching the lesson, it's the human coach. But now they have the analytical power of a biomechanical supercomputer whispering these underlying truths right in their ear.
Beautifully said.
So when we look at the global ecosystem for eCoach 360 degrees, who is actually implementing this day to day?
It is designed to scale across the entire golf landscape. It serves golf professionals, individual golf clubs, massive teaching academies, and ultimately the players themselves. It bridges the gap between education and application.
How so?
They have workshop modules that teach coaches the underlying science of the knowledge graph, and that education links directly into the AI Golf Pro applications they use on the range.
What really stood out to me in the sources was how this ecosystem utilizes memory. Like, it doesn't just treat every swing as an isolated event.
Right, it tracks progress.
It operates on 3 distinct memory systems. You have short-term session memory, which means the AI remembers what happened 10 minutes ago. If a coach prescribed a drill at 10:00 a.m. and it failed, the system remembers that context at 10:15 a.m., so it doesn't suggest the same failed pathway.
Which is huge for pacing a lesson.
Yeah. Then you have long-term player memory, tracking a golfer's physical development or even seasonal fatigue over months and years. And finally, platform knowledge memory, where the system itself gets smarter over time. Having all 3 turns this from just a neat diagnostic app into a highly customized long-term coaching partner.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that ties perfectly into their future roadmap. The goal over the next 5 to 10 years is to take all these isolated data points globally and transform them into a unified intelligence ecosystem for the sport.
Wow.
And crucially, the architecture is entirely technology agnostic.
Meaning you aren't locked into buying one specific brand of like a $20,000 camera to use the platform.
Exactly. Right now, it can process data from high-end multi-camera 3D motion capture systems and professional force plates. But as technology evolves, the system is preparing to integrate markerless smartphone 3D tracking and wearable sensors.
So it'll just keep getting more accessible.
The platform doesn't care where the data comes from as long as it can run it through the knowledge graph. They're also building out expansions into putting intelligence, talent identification modules for younger athletes, and enterprise solutions to manage massive multi-location golf academies.
We are witnessing a fundamental evolution in how humans learn to move. I mean, we're moving from an old world where we just guessed what the body was doing based on fuzzy video to a transitional world where we measured the data but couldn't really understand it.
Yeah.
And now into this new future where we measure it, we understand the exact kinetic chain mathematically, and we know precisely how to intervene safely.
It is the literal realization of Henrik Jentsch's core premise. Scientific information translated seamlessly into coaching decisions.
So I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder today. When we talk about golf, we always talk about the textbook swing, this perfect aesthetic ideal that everyone is supposed to chase.
Right, the Tiger Woods swing or the Adam Scott swing.
Exactly. But imagine a future, maybe just a few years from now, where the exact biomechanical blueprint of your unique body, your specific joint load capacities, your personal kinematic sequence, your unique ability to produce ground force. What if that is perfectly understood by your coach through this AI?
That changes everything.
It does. How might this entirely redefine what we consider to be a good golf swing? Because maybe the perfect swing isn't the one that looks the prettiest on a high-speed camera. Maybe the perfect swing is simply the one that perfectly optimizes your own unique human architecture.
That is a fascinating perspective, and it promises a much healthier, more exciting future for the sport.
It really does. And on that note, if you would like to learn more about eCoach 360 degrees and are interested in how artificial intelligence, biomechanics, kinematics, and modern coaching technologies can be applied in golf, you can contact Henrik Jentsch directly.
It's highly recommended.
Simply send him an email or a message on LinkedIn. Afterward, you can schedule a short Zoom meeting where Henrik will personally introduce the platform to you and answer your questions. He looks forward to speaking with you about the future of golf and modern coaching technologies.
It's been an absolute pleasure exploring this architecture with you today.
Same here. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the future of the game. Keep learning, keep swinging, and we'll catch you next time.